Welcome back. Many, not all, but many in the political analysis business have been admirably quiet during this crisis, but politics will eventually have to be again considered as Election Day looms in November, and before that, there are political conventions to figure out. And this week, the Democratic race saw a major development with Bernie Sanders dropping out of the campaign, leaving Joe Biden as now the presumptive nominee. Let's talk about it with Stephen Henderson from Detroit Today and on WDET, and Nolan Fenley, editorial page editor of the Detroit News. Great to have part of the band back together here, guys. Stephen, let me start with you. Have you got a thumbnail guess as to what all of this is doing to American politics?
Well, I mean, much of it is on hold right now. I mean, the campaigns have pretty much stopped, which for some people is good news, other people is bad news, I suppose. And everyone's focused on, the pandemic and what the response to that should be. But with Sanders exiting the race this week, it does kind of return us to that idea of discussing politics and thinking about what's to come in the summer and then in the fall. And I think over the next few weeks, we'll start to see a little more polling about where things are. And I think you'll start to see, at least on the Democratic side, some real effort to define Joe Biden as the nominee and the contrast between him and the president going into the general election.
Nolan, I guess you could say that it's all on hold, or you could just say that this is the new way that it's all morphing and that there are things actually happening here to what's going to happen politically. We may not be able to answer that until later.
Well, I mean, for this summer and for this moment, I suspect as we get into the late summer, early fall, you're going to see some normal resumption of politics. I think that's inevitable. Right now, I think this is all about Donald Trump, and it's his election to win or to lose based on, how well the nation gets through this pandemic and how well the economy recovers afterwards. I think Joe Biden would be smart to take a minimalist role here. The more he's in public, the more he struggles to try to find relevance at this moment, the worse he looks. I think he lets Donald Trump, either prove himself or not. And I think, the history here is that the more you see of Biden, the less attractive he is. And same goes for Donald Trump. So, Biden has the luxury of being able to sit it out.
Stephen, it's hard for me to imagine political conventions being held right now. I mean, I don't know how you do 20,000 people on a conference call either. This rollout, I don't think anybody thinks we're going back to just sort of a normal thing where you feel just fine standing right next to someone that you don't know in a big crowd. But how do we move forward on that? We kind of have to decide these things.
So I think this is one of those tests of what the new world looks like after all of this is over. I mean, presumably by the time the conventions are held, we're not going to be in the same situation we're in now, where everybody is essentially locked in their home. But you're right. I mean, who's going to go to a convention hall with 20 or 30,000 people and stand around and make these kinds of decisions? And so then the question becomes, what is the new reality? What's the new way, at least for now, that we choose a nominee and have that kind of excitement and energy that you build at a convention for the general election? I don't have any idea what the answer is to that, but I imagine that there are a lot of conversations going on right now about what the possibilities might be, and you're seeing other people kind of adapt to things. I mean, this plan for MLB baseball to take place in Arizona and Florida instead of all over the country with no fans. I mean, it's an indication of the way in which things have to change for the foreseeable future, and I expect politics to follow suit.
Yeah, your thoughts, Nolan?
Well, that'll feel a lot like Tiger Stadium did last summer, I think.
Oh, ouch.
No fans.
This is not going to be static. I mean, this situation is moving. I don't know where we'll be in August, late August, when the conventions are scheduled to be held, when Mackinac Policy Conference is scheduled to be held. We know that trials are underway for a vaccine. If we get that fast-tracked and a breakthrough, everything changes. We may be watching football, college football again, the Lions again in the fall. So I think right now we just don't know how this is going to play out, but I don't think things are going to stand still. As soon as we can break through with an effective treatment to cut that death rate down and then get a vaccine, I think you'll see normal perhaps quicker than it might feel like at this moment.
Boy, everybody is dreaming of how great normal would feel right now, no doubt about it. Guys, thanks so much for the time, and stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, you too.
All righty.
See you.
That's going to do it for us for this morning. Thanks so much for being here. Meet the Press coming up next. Have a great week. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time on Flashpoint. Happy Easter.